North Korea has failed to hide this secret, and what is about to be revealed will shock you greatly. Join us and check out photos that are illegal in this country, but that have been exposed to the entire world. Let's go. Number 16. Man eating grass. Scenes that expose the reality in North Korea often show the lengths to which people have to go to survive. In one image that has circulated worldwide, a man is seen kneeling in a field while gathering grass with his hands. At first glance, this image could be mistaken for agricultural work, but the truth is much harsher. He is looking for something to eat. The extreme hunger faced by the population forces them to resort to eating vegetation as one of the only sources of food available. In contrast, the regime's elite live in luxury, enjoying the abundance, while the majority struggle to survive. North Korea's food shortages are the result of a combination of economic sanctions, political isolation, and disastrous domestic policies. Reports indicate that in rural areas, hunger is so severe that any type of plant can be used as food. Number 15. Computers. Just for show. A photo of a modern but disconnected computer epitomizes the technological manipulation in North Korea. Although it appears to be state-of-the-art equipment, its actual usefulness is limited to what the regime allows. These devices, presented as symbols of advancement, do not have access to the internet and function only to display information previously approved by the government. This strategy reinforces control over the flow of knowledge, further isolating citizens from the rest of the world. Technology is used by the regime not as a tool for progress, but as an instrument of oppression. Only a small fraction of the population is allowed to use computers, and even then, only under strict supervision. In schools and workplaces, access is restricted to programs that propagate state ideals. Number 14. The Secret Women's Army. In North Korea's vast military, which numbers millions of soldiers, one little-known unit stands out. A group of women with a purely ceremonial role, dressed impeccably and carrying katanas, they take part in important events and parades, creating a visual spectacle for leaders and international visitors. Despite their imposing appearance, these women do not participate in combat missions and are used exclusively to enhance the regime's image. I have a question for you. First, I'd like to tell you that it's possible to keep up with the biggest curiosities of our world every day. But for that, you need to be subscribed to our channel. So, have you subscribed yet? If not, take the opportunity to subscribe now. Now that you've done that, let's go. Number 13. Exclusive shopping for the elite. An emblematic scene of inequality in North Korea is that of an empty shopping mall, accessible only to the elite. With clean aisles and shelves full of luxury goods, this place contrasts sharply with the reality faced by the majority of the population. Only those connected to the government or holding prestigious positions can access these spaces, while millions of North Koreans live with little or no food. Number 12. Mandatory Kim portrait. In North Korea, the mandatory display of portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il in every home exemplifies the extent of state control. Regardless of the level of poverty, these images must occupy a central place in every home, symbolizing unquestioning loyalty to the regime. Furthermore, these portraits are subject to regular inspections, and any neglect in maintenance can result in severe punishment. Number 11. Devastated rice fields. Images of devastated rice fields in North Korea expose the failure of its agricultural system. These fields, which are essential for feeding the population, are often abandoned or poorly managed due to a lack of machinery, fertilizers, and adequate infrastructure. In many areas, resource shortages are so severe that productivity can barely meet local needs. Furthermore, agriculture in the country is centralized, which means that decisions are made by the government, often without taking regional conditions into account. This results in insufficient harvests and a system that is unable to adapt to the real needs of the population. Number 10. Forced child labor. In North Korea, child labor is more than a common practice. It is a reflection of the unbearable burden that the regime imposes on the most vulnerable. Children who should be in school or playing are often seen in factories, fields, and construction sites, performing arduous and dangerous tasks. The conditions are precarious. Lack of security, oppressive supervision by soldiers, and long days under intense sun or in unsanitary environments. These children, often barefoot and showing signs of malnutrition, are forced to contribute to the state economy while their fundamental rights are ignored. Education is neglected in favor of fulfilling work quotas, and the notion of childhood disappears amid brutal demands. Number 9. Chaotic transportation system. In a country where almost everything operates on a limited basis, public transport is no exception. Crowded bus lines and overcrowded subway cars paint a picture of a chaotic and inadequate system. Long lines snaking around boarding points are a common sight in North Korean cities, reflecting both the shortage of vehicles and the precariousness of the transport infrastructure. Buses, which are often old and poorly maintained, are often delayed due to lack of fuel and maintenance. During rush hour, it is common to see citizens crammed together, with some holding on to the outside of moving vehicles. For many, waiting for hours is just part of the daily routine, as alternatives such as private cars are inaccessible to the vast majority. While the government prioritizes military spending, public transportation continues to deteriorate, leaving citizens at the mercy of a flawed system. Yet people are resilient. They face adversity with patience and creativity, often resorting to cycling or long walks to accomplish their daily tasks. Number 8. Informal markets. Faced with a rigid, centralized economy, the North Korean population has found a way out in informal markets. These spaces, known as Jangmadang, function as true economic lungs, offering goods ranging from basic foodstuffs to contraband products such as cosmetics and electronics. Despite operating outside the legal framework, these markets are the only source of survival for many. Organized in improvised ways, often on vacant lots or quiet streets, informal markets reflect the creativity and persistence of North Koreans. Traders face constant risk, as regime guards patrol these places, ready to confiscate goods or arrest anyone who breaks the rules. Yet they continue to operate, defying a system that leaves them with no alternatives. The Jangmadang are also places of information exchange. In addition to goods, people share stories, rumors, and even news from outside, creating a network of silent resistance against the government-imposed isolation. These markets symbolize more than the struggle for resources. They are spaces where humanity persists, even under conditions of extreme oppression. Number 7. Kim Jong-il Festival. The annual Kim Jong-il Festival transforms celebrations into tools of social control. Although billed as an event honoring the late leader, mandatory participation reveals its true intent to reinforce ideological indoctrination. Citizens of all ages are mobilized to march, sing, and pay homage in a carefully choreographed spectacle. Preparations begin months in advance, with extensive rehearsals and strict requirements. Streets are decorated with flags, and monuments to the leader become the center of ceremonies, where crowds are expected to demonstrate public and theatrical devotion. Absence or inappropriate behavior can lead to severe punishment, transforming the festival into an event marked by fear. While the parades and celebrations take place, the daily lives of most people are disrupted, and resources that could be used to alleviate hunger or improve infrastructure are diverted to fund the event. The Kim Jong-il Festival is not only a tribute to the leader, but a way to perpetuate control over the population, transforming even the idea of a party into yet another mechanism of oppression. Number 6. Staging houses for tourists. North Korea's tourist homes are a stark example of how the regime manipulates narratives to mask its reality. These model homes are carefully decorated to appear welcoming and modern, but they hide a dark truth. Foreign visitors are greeted with rehearsed smiles and staged scenes, such as young people pretending to work on computers that are in reality turned off due to a lack of electricity. These performances are designed to impress and deceive, giving the impression that the country is on a trajectory of progress. To tourists, these visits may seem interesting, but to North Koreans, they are a reminder of the government's absolute control. Number 5. Underground metro system. Pyongyang's subway is one of North Korea's greatest contradictions. Although it may seem like a symbol of modernity, with its marble-lined stations and opulent chandeliers, it has a secondary function, serving as a bomb shelter in case of war. This dual purpose reflects the regime's priorities, which are more focused on military security than on the well-being of its citizens. The system is accessible only to a small portion of the population, mainly workers and students in the capital. For many, the metro is the only reliable means of transport, as buses often run out of fuel. Even so, the metro's operation is limited, with old trains and long intervals between trips. Despite its luxurious appearance, the subway is a clear representation of the disparities in North Korea. While the infrastructure serves as a propaganda tool for foreign visitors, millions of people outside the capital live without access to basic transportation. Number 4. Empty classroom. North Korea prides itself on its education system, presenting it as one of the foundations for the country's development and the education of future generations. The empty classroom is a melancholic symbol of the educational reality in North Korea. While the regime proudly proclaims the excellence of its education system, the truth is that it is more focused on ideological indoctrination than academic learning. Walls adorned with political propaganda and posters of leaders make it clear that the goal is not to educate critical citizens, but rather individuals loyal to the regime. The absence of students and teachers reflects the lack of basic resources, from books and school supplies to qualified professionals. Many families cannot send their children to school because they need them to help support the family, whether by working in the fields or in other activities. In addition, the excessive focus on instilling political ideals causes subjects such as science and mathematics to be neglected, compromising the intellectual future of children. Number 3. Deteriorated masonry houses. Far from the opulence reserved for the elite, the homes of most North Koreans are a silent testament to the hardships faced by the population. Made of simple masonry, many of these homes are in deplorable condition. Damaged roofs, cracked walls, and dark, damp interiors are common, highlighting the precariousness of living conditions. The government has tried to hide these realities, but leaked images show how these structures barely provide shelter from the harsh North Korean winter. Without adequate heating, electricity, or running water, families struggle daily to maintain a minimally dignified life. The lack of maintenance reflects not only widespread poverty, but also the regime's neglect of basic housing. Number 2. The strangest dolphinarium. North Korea's dolphinarium is an obvious attempt to create an illusion of normalcy and leisure for tourists. However, the site's military exclusivity reveals more about the regime's disconnect with its people than it does about entertainment. The shows, supposedly intended for everyone, are only accessible to soldiers, leaving the general public out of the experience. This decision to limit access reflects the reality of a regime that prioritizes its military strength above all else, including the well-being and leisure of its citizens. While the military watches dolphin shows, most North Koreans face a routine of hard work and a constant struggle for survival. Number 1. Low-quality sanitation system. North Korea's sanitation infrastructure is a direct reflection of the precarious conditions faced by a large portion of the population. In one of the most symbolic images, a toilet that should represent modernity displays a makeshift cistern to store water, replacing a functioning plumbing system. This common scene reveals the lack of investment in basic services, even in urban areas. For many families, especially in rural areas, the situation is even more serious. Hand-dug wells and cisterns are often used, exposing people to health and hygiene risks. Now tell me, which country do you want to discover next for banned photos? Comment below in the comments. Take advantage and check out photos that Russia banned and were also exposed to the world. Click on this video that is now appearing on the screen for you to watch. Well, that's it, and until next time, curious one.